Okay. Thank you for staying for the last keynote at Agile Testing Days 2021. It's cheesy as hell, but we can do better than that. Thank you for staying for the last keynote at Agile Testing Days 2021. All right. Thank you for staying. I got the graveyard shift. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, so I am going to talk about what the coach means in quality coach. Okay, so that's me. Sometimes I get confused for this guy and this guy, which is weird. I didn't think about how clear that would be to read, so let's just skip that. My name's Vernon. Hello, from the UK. And this is my first visit to Agile Testing Days. So thank you for having me. Last year, I saw my friend Toya was tweeting about how awesome he was having a great time, and I had intense FOMO. I was like, man, why am I not even there? And then Joao tweeted this, to which the wonderful Jose and Uwe replied, so obrigado, gracias, dankeschön. Okay, right. So, quick warning. So I'm going to be talking about coaching, but actually, I've only been doing it properly since last year. So take everything I'm saying with a lot of gross salt. I don't know what salt is in German, but anyway, a lot of salt, okay? Mostly it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, ask me in the questions. Attack, it's fine. I can see Paul is here, so I'm definitely going to get at least one question. Okay, so, does this thing work? Hello? Whoa. Oh, you killed me, man. Okay, right, here we go. Don't move. Right, so let me go back a few years. You're going to stay? Stay. So I joined a team a few years ago. This may sound familiar to some folks in the crowd. So I joined a team. I was convinced by a friend of mine to join this team. So we had a few conversations. It sounded awesome. It sounded absolutely incredible. I was very excited. So we had the conversations, managed to go through the interview, and started working in the London office. So on my first day, I met my line manager, and they took me to my new team. And they were saying, right, your new team got some problems. The testers don't seem to do any testing. They don't really report on what they're doing. They don't write anything down. And there's not much collaboration going on. So I was like, okay, cool. So he's like, well, but they're having their stand-up now, so let's go and meet them now. So we went off to where they were having their stand-up. And so I'm the new person, I get introduced. It's like, oh, hi, Vern, this is your new tester. Welcome. Oh, hi, everyone. And then the stand-up commenced. The first person gave their feedback, I did these things yesterday and doing these things today, and I don't have any blockers, the usual stuff. And then the second person started to give their update, and that's where the trouble began. So this gentleman started saying, okay, so yesterday I started working on the ticket, and then the team lead for the team just jumped in and was like saying, I don't want to hear about that ticket. I want to hear about ticket blah, 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 because you've been working on that for days, and the customer's waiting for it, and I want to hear, and blah, blah. I was like, whoa. And then he replied, well, listen, if you just wait, if you didn't interrupt, you'd get the information that you're asking me for. So why don't you just chill out? Day one, minute one. Okay? Then the next person starts to do their stand-up, and that was like an intense interrogation for that dude. Like, he just got grilled about how long is this thing going to take, how many lines of code are you going to do, how many nanoseconds is it going to take, etc., etc., etc. I was like, what is this? So we come out of the stand-up, we go to our desks, and my desk was here, and the person who argued back was to my right, and the person who got interrogated was behind me. So I was sat here, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, how typical are those stand-ups, man? Like, is that normal? Like, what happened? Like, what's happened in the past? Because that was extremely wild, what happened in there. It looked like a scene from one of these. That's what it felt like. It didn't look like that, but it felt like it was a barroom brawl. I'll explain what happened next a bit later on, but remember that scenario, okay? Next situation. And I can't see if these folks might actually be here. This is a much happier story. So I used to work for a company in the South called Quality Mind. So Vera, who was doing the keynote, I was working with her. And a couple of other folks who were here, Basti and Peter. I can't see them, maybe they left. And towards the end of my stay, I was handing over the team to somebody else. And it was a really interesting process because that team was incredibly, incredibly capable. And I left on really, really good terms. And again, I'll go into why that was and how I was able to succeed in that situation, and we can compare and contrast what I did well versus what I did not do well. But before I get into that, just want to make sure at the same foundation. So, quality coaching has a relationship with testing, and so these are some of the things that you kind of have to deal with when you're a tester. We spend a lot of time looking for problems and trying to mitigate those problems. So we spend a lot of time talking to people and telling them, oh, look, this is a problem here, there's a bug here, there's a problem with this process or the system or whatever. And we'll work with people quite a lot. Usually we'll start off in the team when we're less experienced or when we're a mini Pokemon. And as we get more and more experience, then our scope or sphere of influence will increase and broaden. Like my moves? All right. And so you'll start to kind of think to yourself, well, it's less about what I'm doing and it's more around, can I accelerate the team? And then it will be like, oh, how can I accelerate all of these teams? And how can I accelerate the business? So that's how we add value as testers. We do all of that kind of good work. And we make a lot of observations and we tell people a lot of stuff all of the time. Okay, so does that sound familiar to some stuff that people have done or are doing or will be doing? Okay. So, let's talk about what coaching is. So, this is going to be another pretty terrible slide, but it was supposed to be terrible. I'm not expecting anybody to read any of this, by the way. This is how the International Coaching Federation describe the competencies of coaching. And there are 4, and I can't even read them. Setting the foundation, co-creating the relationship, communicating effectively, and facilitating learning and results. You can go and get this from their website. I think it's a .org website. So you can go and check that out for yourselves. So I'm going to talk about a few of the points on here, bearing in mind that we're only here for a short amount of time and people want some practical things to go away with. So the first thing that I want to talk about is active listening. By the way, did you have this same slide? It looked really familiar when I put it up. Did you use this in your presentation? Yes. Okay, so active listening. We've all had that experience where you'll be talking to somebody and you'll be like saying, oh my goodness me, I've had such a terrible day. I'm on a really tough day and, I went to the fast food shop to get myself a tasty burger and they didn't have any. And then I wandered back to my desk to get my phone to order an Uber Eats and my phone was out of battery. This was devastating for me. And the person you're talking to is just like, I'm sorry, are you saying something? I'm sorry, what? That is not active listening. Active listening is very, very focused. It's not just about listening with your ears. It's about noticing how people are saying what they're saying, and maybe even trying to figure out how they're feeling about what they're saying. So that might sound a bit woo-woo, so sorry for the woo-woo, non-woo-woo compatible folks in the crowd. But you've kind of got to listen with not just your ears, but also your eyes, and also kind of your heart or your soul. But you've really got to try and get into the headspace of the person that is talking to you. Now, why is that important? It's important because it starts to build trust and it starts to build empathy, which is important for what's going to come. Okay? Now, there are a few potential traps that we might fall into here. So, some classic traps when you're active listening, and I want you to avoid these because I am still learning how to get over these. So, first one is being uncomfortable with silences. It's weird, right? It's weird. You've got to really try and be comfortable with the silence, because when you're active listening, it's not about you broadcasting. You don't have to fill the silence. Let the person who's talking fill the silence. You just wait. The silence will work magic, trust me. It sounds weird, but it works. Okay, next one is being preoccupied with thoughts about your own life. So when you're listening to somebody and you're active listening, so we're all here, we're all at a conference, almost certainly, why are you giggling? Almost certainly, there's something going on back at the office that we are probably concerned about. And so the person that is talking to you, you're looking at them, but your head is over here because you're thinking, there's going to be some emails waiting for me. Did I feed the dog before I left? Oh my God, what the hell's going on? And it's like all of these things, and then you're like, oh crap, what did they just say? I was zoned out for like 60 seconds. Shit. So try to avoid that. Now, here's the thing. It's going to happen. Just be cool with it, and don't panic. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. It's like a muscle. This is another one that I struggle with. The person is in front of you, and you're already thinking, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do for this person after. Oh, that was a really interesting thing they said. I know I can help them with that. I can give them this thing, or I can point them at this book, or I can do this, that, and the other. And again, you've zoned out. You're too busy focused on what you're going to do instead of listening to what the individual is saying to you. This is a nightmare scenario, right? I really like understanding what is going on. And if somebody says something interesting, I thought you were yelling at me when you did your talk. You're like, curiosity. Ooh, name used to be Bruce, eh? I wonder what your name was before that. Oh, let's check it out. Do you know what I mean? Like, or they might say something like, yeah, I'm really struggling trying to build a flux capacitor, and it's really hard. You're like, oh, flux capacitor? Holy smokes, are they building a time machine? Man, I wonder what I could do with a time machine. That would be absolutely incredible. Let me just ask you a question about, and you've blown it. Because it's not, the active listening is not about you listening so that you can understand. It's about building trust. It's not about listening so you can ask the next amazing question, or that you can devastate somebody with your experience. Which brings us on to this one. It is not about putting yourself central to the conversation. You're not listening so that you can take center stage, like me. It's about helping the person that you're listening to. So it doesn't matter. So you're going to empathize if you're, have empathy and you're in tune with yourself. I struggle with this a lot. Somebody can say something and I will immediately go, oh, wow, I had a situation like this and I'd love to share it with you because I'm sure that will help you. That's the wrong thing to do. Again, just keep it down. You don't need to share. It's not about you right now. Related to an earlier one, I'm going to solve all the things. Okay? Somebody has told me something. So that flux capacitor that dude was building, I built one last week. I know exactly how to do that. I can help. Let me tell them how to solve this. No, don't do that. Okay, it's not important. Just listen. Thinking ahead to your next question, because you want to demonstrate how wonderfully present you are, you're terrified because your mind has gone blank and you don't actually have a question. And now instead of listening, you're panicking about the fact, what do I say? Oh my God, I can't think of anything. Oh, I'm just going to think I'm not listening. And then you've completely blown it. Okay? Again, it's going to happen. Just chill, relax. It will get better with practice, but even then, you're still going to zone out at some point. And finally, look at you, Paul. Don't make any snap judgments or assumptions. Okay? Hear people out. Try not to leap in. I'm a nightmare for this one as well. Like being super judgmental and saying, oh, well, I know what this is about. I can just zone out. That doesn't help at all. And I'll tell you about an example where I did that a bit later on. So, active listening. That's step number one. That's what we've got to do. Active listening. The next thing we need to do, or be mindful of, is something called unconditional positive regard. Okay? Unconditional positive regard. Now, what this means is you don't zone in, you don't make judgments so quick and kind of say, this person is a terrible human. They are absolutely the worst. You don't assume that you know better. You kind of just approach the situation as, you know what, this person is capable. This person has the skills, or they can learn them. This person has the knowledge, or they can go find it. It's cool. I don't need to leap in. I don't need to make no judgments. They're just coming to me to talk things out. Now, the way that I picture this in my head is, does anyone know who these two people are? I'm showing my vintage. All right. So the gentleman on this side is Ando Masahashi, and the person on this side is Hiro Nakamura. And they're two characters from a TV show called Heroes. And this dude has superpowers. He has the ability to control time and space. So he can teleport from here to there. And he can slow down time and travel through time and all these cool things. Sadly, his friend had no superpowers whatsoever. Oh. Until season 3, where he got some superpowers. And his superpowers were to amplify everybody else's superpowers. That was his superpower. So whenever I think of unconditional positive regard and I'm coaching or I'm asking somebody kind of coachy questions, I'm trying to channel this dude. Because I don't really need to do anything. I've got one job in that conversation, and it's to make the other person who's already awesome maximize their awesomeness. That is it. I don't give them any awesomeness. They have it within them already. I'm just helping them realize that they've got it. I'm just helping them get it out of them. That is all I'm doing. So they will realize that they themselves are awesome and have some kind of internal strength that they didn't realize they had. They can learn anything they need to learn. They have the right temperament, or they can change it. They are fully capable. The only thing that they lack is perspective. So whatever's in front of them, whatever challenge they have, or whatever opportunity that they're trying to take advantage of, the only thing that's missing is perspective. So my job is to help them explore the situation so that they can get the perspective. It will make them go, oh, I got it. I got this, Vern. I'm going to go solve it. See you later. That's all I need to do. That would mean success. So we've been active listening, and we've adopted this unconditional positive regard stance, so we're good. The next thing to do is to start asking questions, but not closed questions, open questions. So less binary answers. Binary answers are not good. Not in this situation. You want to ask more who, what, where, how, those kind of questions. Why? Not so useful. I hear you say why. Or warum. Did I say it right? All right. So the reason you don't use why questions is because they can come across a little bit judgy. So try and avoid them. As you become more experienced, you can use them. But if you say, well, why? It's really difficult not to do that whole, well, why did you do blah? And already you're like, oh, God, they think I'm stupid, or they think, you can always rephrase it. So instead of saying, I don't know, why did you ride the unicorn into work today? You could say something like, well, what made you decide to ride the unicorn instead of your bike? Or what made you decide to ride the unicorn instead of walk? Like, what did you get out of that? How did that benefit you? So try and keep the questions open, not closed. Okay, so active listening, unconditional positive regard. Now we're asking some super cool, powerful, open questions. The next thing to think about is the line of directiveness. So, this is a spectrum, right, of how directive you can be. And at one end, will this work? Will work. You can be very, very directive. And at the other end, you can be non-directive, right? So, wait, am I pointing in the right direction? At this end, that's more the end where I have the knowledge and you don't. So I need to tell you what to do. I need to give you the instructions because you have no idea what is going on. Okay? I have the knowledge. You ain't got shit. Then at the other end, that's where coaching lives. And that is the literal opposite. That is, I have no idea how to solve this problem. You do. And that ties into the unconditional positive regard. I don't know what, you're the expert on you. You're the expert on you. You're the expert on you. I need to be expert at asking questions to help you figure out how to solve your own problem. Now, as an example, we've got this wonderful human being. Easily the best football coach alive. Yeah, I said it. That's right. And then we have this person as well. So Herr Kloppo, if you want to get in his team, you need to do exactly what he says when he says it. There's no negotiation. Okay? There's a very tight, space for your agency and autonomy to operate. If he says you're in defense, you're not going up front to score any goals. If he sees you up there, that will be the last game that you ever play for this guy. Whereas our friend Samwise here, he didn't tell Frodo a goddamn thing. Absolutely nothing. He was just there. Are you okay? Can I carry the thing for you? Do you need any help? Told him nothing useful. So if you need to remember, when you're coaching, be more Samwise. And the only time I'm going to say this, are we recording this? Don't be like Jurgen. That didn't feel good to say. Okay. So let's go back to the barroom brawl situation from earlier. So I'll explain a bit more about the situation. No spoilers. What happened was, over the course of the next 2 weeks, two things happened. One, the team that had this clash with the team lead, it elected me to be the spokesperson to go to HR about this situation, right? This is important. At least some of the reason was because of the kind of questions that I asked in that first instance. Like, how normal is that? Does that happen all the time? Or is this person just stressed out? Like, what do you do in this situation? When I said that I was told they weren't testing very well, when I actually sat with the testers and said, hey, could you show me how you test? Let's pair up, show me what you do. They were the best testing notes that I saw in my entire stay at that company. They were incredible. It wasn't a work problem. It was a personality problem. People were clashing. So, I need to clue you in something. Now, I know what you're thinking. Vern, he's a nice guy. He's very friendly, very approachable. He's laughing because he knows the punchline. The thing is, I get extremely triggered when bullying is anywhere near me. Like, I literally don't, like, I hate that shit. Oh my God. Like, so with my immediate teammates, I was amazing. I didn't know anything about coaching at this point, by the way, so this was pure accident. But with the people that were bullying, or I perceived to be bullying, and their peers, yeah. And the thing is, that caused untold problems. For example, if you are had the experience or in the misfortune place to work with a bully, what do you think will happen when somebody like me, like, bursts in? You are full of shit, goddammit, you're a terrible person, how dare you? You want to step outside and say this like a man? Now, do you think that they will, A, say, good point, Ben. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to call Vera and get myself some training to address my personality problems and bullying issues. Or do you think they chose option B and doubled down on that bullying shit? They doubled down on the bullying. Also, friends of mine, so remember I said that a friend of mine had a bunch of conversations to get me into the company. What do you think it was like for that dude when I'm like running amok through the London office, like, you were terrible and so are you and you suck? Not good. Not good at all. Any air cover that could be provided, it's not really going to work at this point. We're like, get this guy out of here. So it was a partial success, but really it feels like epic failure because I didn't solve the actual problem because I was too damn angry, and I threw friends under the bus as a result and wasn't even thinking about that shit. Next one. My wonderful team at Quality Minds. So, I described them as a team of tigers. During my interview, literally in my interview, I was like saying, why do you need me here in this role? Because you're very, very capable. Now, the reason I asked that is, have you ever tried to tell a tiger what to do? How do you think that will work out if you try and tell a tiger what to do? It's not going to go well. So instead, I asked a lot of questions just naturally. Not because I was scared, but literally I was just like, this team is amazing. I don't need to tell them anything. I just need to, oh, we've got this problem. What do you think? I mean, I've got some ideas, but what do you think? They're like, oh, we could do this thing, we could do that thing, amazing. Or I could say, oh, I'm seeing this. Like, I'm seeing this weird thing over there. Is that what I think it is? And they'd be like, oh, no, you got that wrong. It's this, that, and the other. So I was very, like, open with them. I didn't tell them stuff. I don't need to tell them when they're capable. They are awesome. And so what that meant, and this is a little bit of a humble brag, bear with me. This happened last summer. So I don't know if you can read that, but these were two of my colleagues from Quality Minds. So what happened was, last summer, when I was just about to start my coaching journey, I was like on Twitter saying, hey, I'm going to do this coaching training. It's amazing. It's going to be really cool. It's really interesting, blah, blah. Patrick was saying, oh, he's going to be really good at that because another one of the teammate members was saying to him, a colleague described his leadership style as, he's standing next to you, looking at the problem with you, trying to help you find a solution that suits you. I did not pay him to write that. I know what you're thinking. I didn't pay him to write that. When I read that, I'm not going to lie, the room got a bit dusty. Somebody may have been cutting onions somewhere. I don't know. And then the lovely Guna followed that up with, yes, what he said. Your ability to listen and hear us, gentle inquiry that makes us feel safe to open up. That is massive. That is some of the best feedback I've ever had in my entire life. Absolutely awesome. And it's because I was listening, not telling. And I was trusting them. And I believed in them. It wasn't fake. It was very, very genuine. So, this is a coaching model that is probably the easiest one that I could find to share with you right now. So, whenever you're in a situation where you are coaching, so here's the thing. Some of you will be explicit leaders, like actual leaders. You'll be a test leader, or be a manager, or a director of, or whatever. And you'll have actual direct reports. But those of us who are in these quality coach roles may not have, sometimes hierarchies can be a bit weird. So you need to figure out how you're going to lead without the authority. And that's where the coaching comes in. So what you need to do with people and your teams when you spot these problems, instead of doing what we normally do, which is, I'm going to tell you about this problem. You don't know what Agile means. You're doing it wrong. So I'm going to tell you how to do it. Instead, you can kind of say, it looks like we're taking a long time to deliver stuff. Like, how do you think we can make that better? Are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? Like, what do you see? And you can start to explore what's going on and see if they see things the same way that you see things, okay? Once you get there, you can then start to define the situation. So what would you like to be different? So where are we now? What would you like to be different? And then you can say, well, okay, now we understand those two things. What are we going to do about it? So what's going on? What do you want instead? And how might you get what you want? So that model is called the EGANS model, E-G-A-N-S, 3-stage model. So you can start with that. Coaching is an unbelievably deep and rich hole to dive into, but I would highly recommend it. So this brings us back to our line of directiveness. And actually, there's another option in the middle. So we could either tell people what to do, because I have the knowledge or you don't. Or I could coach you where I know nothing and you have all the answers. Sometimes, though, I will have the answers. What do you do? Because let's say I arrived here last week. I've never been to Potsdam before. I'm so excited. I just want to get to Agile Testing Days. So I'm hanging out with Jose in the hotel. And he takes us to some room that's in the middle. And I don't know, he's gone down this corridor, made a left, double back, gone through an alley. I don't know. I don't know where I am in this hotel. And we're just talking about the event. How's it going to go? And then there's an explosion. And there's a fire and the alarm's going off and the sprinklers and it's super dangerous. And I'm like, Jose, the alarm's going off. What are we going to do? We need to get out of here. And Jose says, well, what do you think we should do then? That is not the appropriate question in that situation. I'm not trying to explore any options out here, man. I just want to get the hell out of here. Give me the answer to the question. You've all been in situations where we've hunted down and we've been on Stack Overflow, and then we've gone back to Stack Overflow, and then we've gone into a book, and then we tried to mess around with the thing, and we're going backwards and forwards for hours. It's like, you know what? Just give me the answer, man, Oliver. Please, help me out. At that point, has the option of saying, well, what do you need right now? Do you need me to tell you what to do? Or do you want some space to figure it out yourself? You've got options. So maybe what people mean when they call us quality coaches is they actually want quality mentors. Sometimes we will have to take the decision away from the person because, I think I was sharing this with some folks at the end of your talk. So I was trying to implement a tool some years ago, with JavaScript. And I was working with one of the most amazing human beings I've ever worked with. And he would hear me swearing at my desk. And he'd be like, do you need any help right now, or are you okay? I'm like, no, just give me another hour, I'll be fine. But one time, that sticks out in my mind, he's like, what are you trying to do? And I was like, well, I'm trying to do this, that, and the other. He goes, I have to give you the answer. Because JavaScript is JavaScript. You could be here for 1,000 years and still not find the answer, or you might get lucky and find out in 10 minutes. So just to kill that, I'm just going to get you unstuck, and then you can just go off on your merry way. So that's the power of mentoring. You're able to kind of pick and assist in the most appropriate way. You've got options. So once you've done your coaching session, the next thing you have to do individually as the coach is reflect on what happened. So these are some journals. Do you know what? I need to make a slide with resources and send it to you. I will do that so you can share it with people. So this is a journal thing to help you reflect. At the end of each of your coaching sessions, you're supposed to then go away and reflect on your own and ask yourself these questions: what, so what, now what? So what happened? What did you learn? So what is like, well, how significant was this thing? Like what, why was it important? And now what is well, now you've been through this experience, what's going to be different the next time you're coaching or the next time you're in a similar situation? How are you going to change and adapt? So that self-reflection is really important. If at all possible, you yourself should get coaching. Now, it could be from a more experienced coach than you, or it could be from a collective of coaches at your level. I do the second one whenever I get a chance. But you also will need some kind of coaching, or at the absolute least, some feedback so that you can get better. So you're not just running amok thinking that you're a coach because you put the word coach at the end of your job title. That's not how it works. It's a skill, and you've got to practice it and get some feedback and fail and practice again. It's kind of a soft skill, but it is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life professionally. It is difficult. So, let's put it all together. So use your active listening skills. And then remember unconditional positive regard, and use powerful questions to help the coachee gain a new insight on the situation that they are in. And then remember that spectrum. Directive versus non-directive. Be directive when it's appropriate, be non-directive when it's appropriate. If you get them back to front, it's not massively helpful. And I think that is it. Oh, is it? Clicky? Clicky. Hello, Clicky. No, I don't do this. I don't know if it's backed up all the clicks, you see, so I'm just going to wait. Just enjoy the silence. Okay, it's good. All right, so there's one more thing I want to talk about, and it's, I don't know if I actually mentioned this. If I didn't, I should have done. So coaching is a leadership style or a leadership approach. With the Jose example and the fire, it's not always appropriate. It's not a silver bullet. It's not like, oh, I'm a coach, I'm so wonderful, that's the only way to do things. Thank you. That's not how this works. Different styles are suited to different contexts and different situations. So just knowing that these things exist is already helping me. I can't imagine how deep this learning about these things must go, because I'm only on the coaching part right now. But understanding what your style is, your default position, is super duper helpful. So I'm kind of like, I feel like anyway, that I'm definitely my default one is coaching and visionary type stuff, I guess. Like saying, wow, it's gonna be so awesome, it's gonna be great. Who's coming with me? Like I'm that kind of guy. So yeah, definitely take a picture of that. I would totally advise you to go and learn about these things. Because the more tools you've got in your toolkit as you're out in your teams and your companies, leading and trying to persuade and trying to coach, particularly if you don't have that political and actual authority, the better. And I think that is it. I'm done.
Wow.
Are there any questions in the house? Yes.
Thank you for a great talk. Do you find that your unconditional positive regard gets harder to do the tireder you are? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's
Great question, because you reminded me of something I didn't say. So, yes, like energy levels are a thing, for real, definitely. It takes a lot of juice because, like in that situation, the first one, I absolutely should have done it for sure, like no excuses. But I didn't because I just let my allergic reaction just take hold. The other thing to say is, it's kind of like it's a dangerous thing to recommend that you're in a toxic situation and you're like saying, well, Vern said I must have unconditional positive regard for all douchebags in existence. It's like, that's not, like, you will know when you're dealing with a toxic person that I'm not talking about that situation. But you're right. You have to be extremely mindful to do that. And I don't get it right well, clearly I don't get it right all the time. But I don't get it right all the time. But you've got to keep trying.
more questions. Oh,
Come on, let's go with more questions, man. Hey, sorry, Shelley.
No worries, I was just waiting for you to finish. So, thank you. Where do you think that consulting comes in that?
Consulting is not coaching.
No, it's not.
But the coaching skills are like, well, I don't know if you found, but I found them to be very helpful. So I'll go into somewhere. So let's say I'm going to do a quality audit for somebody. So I'm going to go into somebody's company and they want to know what is the state of their quality, what their quality culture, how do they test, what do things look like. The only way I can do that is by talking to people. And if I go in there and say, I am the great Vernon consultant tester, I'm going to fix all your problems, y'all, that's just going to turn everybody off. If I go in there and say, hey, looking really cool, I'm just here to understand what's going on so I can help you address your quality problems. So in order to do that, I need to talk to as many people as possible. And so that will help me figure out what we need to change, but really importantly, what we need to keep doing. Because the good stuff that you're doing, we need to make sure we keep doing that. Everyone's going to be like, hey, I will talk to this guy. And because I'm silly, I'll also say something like, and also, I might be making some notes, but I'm not going to be like, yeah, Jose said that the CEO is full of shit. He's absolutely disgrace. Like, I'm not going to do that. So you're just trying to get people on and build that trust so that you can listen to what they're going to say. So I found it quite helpful to practice asking open questions, because the next thing is, if you, like, stupid example, but you could say something like, so do you test the software? Do you talk to your developers? Or you could say, oh, how do you test that software? It looks really complicated. How do you do that? Can you show me? Like, have you got any notes that we can go through like that? And it just, and that's why we should be good at this, because do closed questions and open questions, does that sound familiar to anything? Test cases, maybe some exploring, perhaps, I don't know. So, yeah, did that answer your question?
A little bit, other than where on your scale would you put it? Directed.
It's not on it. It's not really on it. Because I'm not telling them to do anything. I'm just trying to understand the situation that they're in. So I personally wouldn't put it on there, but I'm not the overlord of coaching, so I might have it wrong. What do you think?
I'm thinking, I know. I'm thinking it belongs on that spectrum someplace. I'm just curious where you thought it was.
I don't think it's on it. I think it's on it.
More questions? Oh.
Oh, God, not the guy in the purple hoodie, please, God. No. Damn you, scouts.
So, Fernand, first, thanks for the great talk. Really loved it. But question, what I find a lot is you're being asked as a coach, and within 2 days you find out that they're actually looking for a mentor in a position that you're not having the knowledge to actually do the mentoring.
Yep.
So what then?
Just tell them that you can't, like, it's not a secret. And I would just explain how you can help and how you can't help. And an important part of of coaching that I didn't go into is that it can be quite an explicit, like, it's an explicit kind of engagement. So like consulting is an explicit type of engagement. If you go to a customer as a coach, part of that process is something like called a chemistry session, okay? Code of conduct's in the house, Jose, just chill. It's a chemistry session where you would talk. So you'd have like, I don't know, 30 to 60 minutes where you would talk with the person that's paying for the engagement and kind of see if you're a good fit, if what they need is what you can help with, and vice versa. And at the end of that session, you kind of go, yeah, let's go forward, or you would say no. And it's really important in that session to tease out that information. Like, what do you want? Because if you're engaging me as a coach, to me anyway, that's something really specific. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So if you want someone to tell you what to do, it's fine. Let's just talk about it and figure out what that looks like. I don't know if that helped. Did it help?
Yeah.
Awesome.
First clean it. No, first clean it.
Nice hoodie.
Thank you.
And then, on the question of Janet, I think consulting is on the whole line. Because it can be teaching, it can be mentoring, and it can be coaching.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So, but I have a question. You talked about reflection.
Yes.
I did a coaching training, and I learned to reflect, and I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I don't ask for help enough, nowhere near enough. And what was the other thing? This is kind of getting personal now, y'all. What was I going to say? I already knew that. Yeah, I've got a short fuse. No, so I get, how to describe this? I'm really averse to people, if they say they're going to help me and they don't help me, I probably won't ask them again. And in my head it makes sense. I'm kind of like, well, they got life. I'm not gonna trouble them. Problem is, that ends up with you getting signed off work for a month, which is what happened to me in the summer. So I didn't tell anyone that. I was like, man, I'm pretty stressed out right now, man. Not good. And then suddenly, the doctor's like, I went to the doctor for one thing, and the way I communicated about that thing, I was like, listen, this better not be something serious because I can't really deal with that shit right now. So you better just tell me what is going on. I ain't got time for this shit. And they were like, okay, so you've stubbed your toe. It's fine. But you okay, man? So that's what I learned. And I learned that last year and didn't do anything about it. So now I tell people stuff and I'm trying. And here's the other thing that I realized, because a friend of mine came and helped me with that process. Another thing that I learned is that I've got a lot of people who want me to succeed and they want to help And I think we're all in that situation, but for some reason, we talk ourselves out of it. So I'm just trying to share. So take that, yeah, that's another one. I'll give you that one for free. Dankeschön, right?
So, one more question.
Don't leave me hanging, Potsdam.
Okay, one more question. Wait.
Shit.
Thanks, Vernon.
Really? Yeah, really. Sorry, excuse me.
But yeah, it was a wonderful talk, and I was very inspired and energized. And I only missed, why do you call yourself a quality coach? Why not just a coach?
Ooh, good question. So, because, annoyingly, it needs framing for customers, generally speaking. Like if you say, well, I'm a coach, they will, so if I said I'm a coach and I'm not going to tell you how to do stuff that's good, they'll be like, well, what are you even doing here? So it's a bit weird. You almost have to kind of like go in and kind of say, well, right, I'm going to coach you in this specific area that I've got some demonstrable track record, and then it's easier to get the engagement. Because if you say, well, I'm a coach, they're going to say, well, coaching what? And I'll say, well, people. But I've done the training. They don't know what it means. So that's something that I'm trying to figure out, because that came up during the training, actually. It's like, well, what do you tell people when you're trying to get some work? It's like, well, you know, the trainer said he did the same thing. He says, well, I coach in this domain. And then when I get in there, I can demonstrate that actually I can help with anything. And then you start to get, you just branch out from there. But also in the industry at large, you'll see, well, I don't know, I think I'm seeing that role a lot, quality coach. And I don't think, you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means, right? I think they just want somebody who's extremely experienced in all the quality things. And there are people who have a significant amount of experience, but a lot of the time, you won't have the answer. Or you could be like, so Vera was talking about, you might be expert level, but you might be working on something new, so you won't have the answer. So it's like, well, how can I help us figure out the answer? I'll use my coaching skills to do that. Not convinced. Let's talk.
Thanks so much. See you in Chicago.
Yes!
Thanks so much.
Dankeschön. Thank you for staying.